The Hertz ProVelo Super League and the Road to the World Tour. It is podcast time once again. Matilda, Raynolds, a chance for us to take a look back at the Warny, the women's race and the men's race, and a look forward to the Harbour City GP, which is close to your old stomping ground. These are your school backyard areas, so you're going to know it all well.
Yeah, not many people might know that I'm actually New South Wales born, and I went to school in the area that it's going to be held. So, yeah, there's a bit of a spread about the stages where they're going this coming weekend for the Harbour in the Sydney round, but they've picked some unreal locations, so I'm excited to get into it. One of them going to sort of my schooling background, which is the Southern Highlands.
And that's the third stage, and that's the stage that we're going to be broadcasting live on SBS on the Sunday, which you won't be a part of because you'll be doing three peaks. We're going to have Peter Mullins in, big shoes to fill, but you've got a big ride ahead on next Sunday.
Oh, I'll be struggling to get those shoes back. Mullins is absolutely fantastic. I think she's like a 13-time national title winner across multiple disciplines. She is fantastic. Yeah, I feel very comfortable for her slipping in. But yeah, I think the audience are in for a real treat to have Mullins on the mic. It's fantastic.
Her list of national championships, it's like being a kid in the 1980s and going to the milk bar and you've got 20 cents to spend on a bag of mixed lollies. And she went to the national championships, just like one of those, like two of those. She's won mountain bike, cyclocross, road. She's one of the junior on the track as well. Amazing. So I'm looking forward to having her in commentary. On the topic of amazing, the Lockhart Energy Women's Warrnambool Classic on Sunday. Is that the best edition of that race you've ever seen?
Yeah, it's up there. I think the first edition we did, we showed some look backs at that edition that Maeve Plouffe won and Josie Talbot in second, and yeah, I think that was a who's who of the women who were about to go to the next step into the World Tour, and we've been calling. We wanted that back, that style of racing, and that's exactly what we got. And especially for me, I feel like the top riders did make that breakaway, and that's what we want to see. And what I loved about it as well is that it was a really even queue almost across all the teams. So teams come in with really big numbers and a lot of strength, but if you can get the right breakaway going, that it can be advantage all the teams, and that's what we really saw. And also, you know, I'm definitely crowning her. It's no longer me. That Sophie Edwards is the Queen of Raglan Parade, and I was just really absolutely thrilled for her to take her second win for the Women's Warrnambool Classic.
You've both won it twice. Sophie's a reluctant leader, though. She's in her mid-20s. She's studying medicine, so she's got a lot going on. She's a big candidate to represent Australia at the LA Olympics, but she seems, when it comes to the ProVelo Super League, much more focused on helping her younger teammates make it up to the next level.
Yeah, she keeps getting called up late for races. She's even been called up, which she didn't think she was going to be doing, the Sydney GP this weekend. And so I think for Soph, she's been quite open that she's studying medicine. She's based in Adelaide, so it helps her to be able to be right there with the track, which is where the Australian team is based, and that she's wanting to go to LA with the track team. So for her to be able to focus on those two things, it's too much to then also focus on the road. And so she's been extremely selfless in coming out to say that I'm here to support the other riders. I'm not interested in going the next step on a pro career at the moment on the road or going over to Europe. And so I am here she was the team captain and to support the other riders. So I think Sophie is just a great human, let alone a good bike rider. And so for her to be a mentor in that space and to be so selfless, like it speaks a lot when you have someone so strong within your team that you're not competing against, that you know they've got your back. And that's really what it was for Soph. And Adette Lynch, that's who they were riding for. But Adette told Sophie with 3K to go that she was cramping, and that Soph really had to change her mindset and know that, okay, well, we're in for me here. I've done this before, and how can I get this win for Butterfields?
And that was really mature as well of Adette Lynch to recognise that this is more important for the team to win rather than just focusing on me. And Adette was coming into that race second in the overall SBS ProVelo Super League for the women, and she made the call, and Sophie got the job done. The top four teams occupied the top four spaces. Sophie Edwards for Butterfields. Then we had Kira Wheel for Red Cat. Third place was Alyssa Pilates from Meridian. Then Isla Bradbury, Nostromo, Attacker keep playing themselves down as one of the smaller teams. They are the fourth biggest team, but they are closing the gap to the top three.
Yeah, definitely. But that was a real advantage for them because they were not animated until that break went. I don't think Isla didn't put a foot wrong, nor did Micaiah Smith. It was quite clear as well that they were riding for Isla Bradbury. And so I think she had a fantastic ride. That was all that she could do in that position, not being a pure track sprinter like the riders that filled the top three positions. And it showed there was actually a 7-second gap back to Isla because they just put the absolute afterburners on these trackies who took the top three spots. And so it was a fantastic injection of energy from Nostromo into the race. But once they got into that breakaway, as we were talking about, it was an even keel. It was like, right now, everyone needs to contribute to this because we've all got cards in this game and it can go to anyone.
Yeah, the top four teams all had two riders in the leading group. And then there was Meg McDonald in there as well. And unfortunately, she crashed with 6.5 kilometres to go. She was one of the revelations of the race, a huge future there. Of the top three, Tills, Sophie Edwards, she did exactly the type of ride that we expect from her. She was not a surprise winner at all, wins it for the second time. Alyssa Pilates was uber aggressive, put in a really strong performance. Kira Will in second position. She was the surprise packet in my regard because she's been fantastic on the track. We've seen her win Madison national title, but for her to be able to race 160 kilometres and come close to the win, I thought it was a really big step forward in her career.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't seen her compete across this type of road event before, and she's probably done the Warny before. But for her to be up the front and actually be a part of the race, and she's still just so young, like obviously an under 23 rider, well known for winning the crit, obviously down at SA Kickert with a really fast, really explosive short sprint while still being a trackie. And so for her to even just get through this race and still be able to show herself at the end, which was also just really important with Team Red Cat, with the leader there in Sophia Salmons, for them to still have an option with this, that they were happy to either have a breakaway with Sophia going by herself or have a team sprint where going all in for Kira Will. So they had some great options on the table there.
Sophia Salmons finished seventh. She still leads the SBS Women's League overall. She's on top. She's on 252 points. Adette Lynch is second on 211. Alyssa Pilates is third on 201. Kira Will has closed up to fourth position on 190, and Ruby Taylor on 160. Sophia Salmons, seventh position. If it was a race where the whole week had gone according to plan, I imagine she'd be a little disappointed with seventh. I think she should be really proud of seventh, given the week that she had. The horrible crash in Tasmania, flying back to Perth, flying back to Melbourne, that's a lot to have on your dance card.
Yeah, it's really disruptive, and for Sophia, it is a hard race to win, and I think it showed that her attacks were a little bit blunted, but also it showed just the high level across the board. Alyssa Pilates was doing some really strong attacks as well, but the Sophia Salmons attacks, they seemed almost in slow-mo at times, and that's just because of the fatigue. I think that was catching up in the legs from all that travel as well, and just the week that was in Tassie. And so it's so hard when you know you have to attack and you know that you should go now, but it's just a whole nother thing to try to get away. And I think it just spoke to the level of the women's racing that we had such a strong group go away together, and that it just could not be broken up no matter how hard some of the riders who didn't want it to be a bunch sprint tried.
Yeah, and it was a really aggressive race from the start. It was ahead of schedule. Hats off to the early breakaways as well. We saw plenty of activity there. For the men's race, the early breakaway, almost 270 kilometres off the front. Josh Beikoff, Ollie Stenning, Kevin Biffiker, they occupied the podium. This was a surprise result.
Yeah, honestly, it didn't feel this way in commentary, Matt, but the race actually never really changed. There was there was 7 out in front at one point, but the only thing that changed was sort of the time gap and sort of who was in that chase group and then who had fallen out of the lead group. But essentially it was the doomed breakaway, which should never have won. They did, and at one point they got close to 13 minutes with a gap, and that was just ridiculously too long. I think the top teams, egg on their face, they were completely way too stubborn. in looking at one another, holding a sword each, and just forgetting that the fight was already over here happening away from them. And I think it was just an absolute opportunity loss for them, particularly when you saw Pat Eddy drop that he's everyone else in that second chase to come in fourth position, but that was 3 minutes behind. And I think it wasn't just Team Brennan. We were looking at the likes of Caish, VIS, even Butterfields. None of these riders, they didn't ever get into the bike race.
Pat Eddy was clearly the strongest rider in the race, the way he did ride away from everybody else. And Team Brennan, they saw that everybody was looking at them, but then they didn't take responsibility. VIS didn't do a whole lot. Caish as well, the Cobra 9. And what I did like about it is we saw two of the new teams, smaller teams, RCA Bikes Online, Falcons Pedal Mafia. They occupied the top two spots. And then Kevin Biffiker, out there as an individual, gets third in the race. So that's the positive to come out of it. But Pat Eddy, this is a massive missed opportunity. Huge.
Yeah, and he's been targeting this for so long. I just don't know why Brennan wanted to have multiple riders at the finish for options. Like Pat, since he won nationals, was talking about the Warny, that they didn't commit the likes of Tyne and Shannon, Brendan Davids, who are, just complete workhorses and can bring this back. I think that they just did not want to set the tone for the rest of the season, that we're not going to always work. If you do not work with us, you cannot lean on us. And so they stepped back and no one lent on anyone. And I think, we heard from Tim Decker in the car that he wanted it to come down by a few minutes, but he said himself that he's not going to commit riders if other teams don't commit riders. And in the end, everyone lost in that respect of the big teams. But it was a fantastic opportunity for those smaller teams to take their name. And honestly, I'm pretty sure I'll be scared. You'd be scared if you were taking on the Melbourne to Warrnambool next year. I'm pretty sure the favourites, usually the way it plays out, if it's gone like this, which we've seen at times in like the women's nationals, etc., the second year after a race like this, it is just lids off from the gun. The top favourites get into that early break, or there's a lot more sort of aggressive riding. But it was a huge opportunity miss for them, but they know that they'll come back together, and we go again this weekend.
Yeah, and full credit to the three that did survive from the breakaway group of 7. And Josh Beikoff from RCA Bikes, he said he didn't think he could win the race. So he got the early breakaway to give RCA some coverage. Well, he got them plenty of coverage. They'll be wrapped.
Oh, just unbelievable. I think he was just so understandably shocked. And I think it was just the slowest sprint I've ever seen, not in its pace, but just in its movement. And it looked like it was had been slowed down, and that we're seeing this whole sprint play out in slow-mo. I said to Josh Beikoff that it would have been quicker for him to get off and run his bike to the finish, I think. But it was an unbelievable moment where Ollie Stenning was winning, and you did so well in your final call, Matt, there for the last K, because he was winning and the Falcons were flying, and then Beikoff was then back into the wheel, like he was gone. And then I cannot believe he did not give up. I cannot believe that Josh didn't drop his head and somehow squeeze the last little calorie out of his body in that last meter and just took it on the line. After 267 kilometres, 3 riders out in front, it came down to a wheel width of a wheel.
I wonder how much sleep Ollie Stenning has lost replaying the last 300 metres, because if he hadn't replayed the last 250 metres, gone a little bit later, he just went too early. And that, that's the challenge of Raglan Parade. And that's the beauty of this race and the beauty of sprinting after close to 6 hours.
It's just like, because it's such a long race as well, that 1 kilometre seems so short, but it's so long, and everyone gets caught out there, both in going too early, too quickly, but then also how long it is. It's actually an uphill drag. It dips down and then goes again, and it's usually a bit of a cross headwind there as well, and no one knows how they're going to sprint after 6 hours of riding. So it's sort of a bit like you open up and you've got no idea what's going to come out of your legs.
Well, in the top 10 now in the ProVelo Super League overall standings, Josh Beikoff, with the victory, has moved into the top 10. He's now up into 9th. The leader is still Levi Hone. He's on 174 points. His teammate, Ollie Stenning, is on 149. It's then Connor Wright on 146, but Connor Wright won't be contesting the rest of the league because he's focusing on other objectives. It's then Connor Leahy, who's the next best. So of the riders still going in the league, the top 3, because Connor's not continuing, are all from Team Brennan. And that just shows their strength, but they missed out on the big win on the weekend. Graham Frisley is then the next best, followed Tom Cornish in 6th. So from the top 5, if we move Connor Wright out of it, given he's not going to be riding for the rest of the league, 4 of the top 5 are Team Brennan.
Yeah, and they've spoken a lot about we don't care who it is as long as it's Team Brennan, but I think they've got it. It's hard to do, but in the Warny, everyone had trained for it, and it would have been a dream for any of those riders to take it. But I think they've just got to back those 1 or 2 riders, which they did so well with Jack Ward last year. You've got to be careful trying to hand around the flowers to everyone. So, Tim Decker is extremely experienced. He's a mastermind. I know he'll get them back on board, but also the Harbour City GP, that is a home race for Keish as well. So, Brennan is sort of an Adelaide team. Keish is a Sydney team. So they, this is really important for them and their sponsors. And we saw that last year. They really dominated a lot of the stages in the Sydney round. So they'll be coming with a vengeance as well.
Another person the Harbour City GP is a home race for is Angus Calder. He was on the ground for us in Warrnambool. Here's Angus with the PSL Pulse.
Yeah, thanks, Keenan. Thanks, Tills. Gosh, another amazing weekend. I feel like every year I come back, I get more appreciation for the Warny. Anything can happen. It's such a dynamic race. So really enjoyed watching everything that weekend. I'm going to start off with the women's for this one. Really impressed overall, to be honest, with the Butterfields Zip Track race team and Meridian Bike Bug. So animated throughout the race, really seemed to just be applying pressure non-stop in the back half there. And they kept getting their leaders up into that front group, which was really nice to see. Sophie Edwards and Odette Lynch for Butterfields, and then Alyssa Pilates and Emily Sanders also, real aggressors throughout that back half there. And there were 2 people that I really want to call out as, I think, standout performers, and it was none of the people on the podium. Meg McDonald for Women's Cycling Development Initiative and Emily Sanders for the Meridian Bike Bug team. Both of these riders have just stepped out of the junior ranks. It's their first time racing a race this long, basically. It's one of the longest races on the women's calendar in the world, I believe. And to see both of them there mixing it in the final, their endurance seemed fantastic. Meg was looking really good up until her unfortunate crash there at the end. I think for both of these 2, they're going to have a big future ahead. And I really hope to see them take a good step forward, I guess, out of this one, take that confidence from a great performance here in Warrnambool, and then try and apply that to the next 3 rounds, try and make a real dent and an impression on those last few opportunities that they'll have here in the Hertz ProVelo Super League season. In the men's race, so exciting to see the breakaway win. I love getting to see the break make it all the way to the finish line. And talking to a few riders on the ground there after this one, but pretty much they all said the exact same thing. They have never been a part of a breakaway that worked smoother and more cohesively than this. Nobody skipped any turns. They just kept doing their turns. They kept rolling, and then all of a sudden they would get dropped. No one would sit on the back and say, oh, look, I'm getting pretty tired. I'm just going to save my legs and get back in the rotation. They just kept going, and then they disappeared. And I think that was a big reason, obviously, for their success. And then, of course, the stalemate behind between Brennan and Keish. It's a really interesting dynamic to see the 2 of those teams just sort of, facing off and really neither of them budging a little bit. And I think that really opens up things in the league. And I hope, I'm not going to name any riders specifically here in terms of who to watch. I'm just going to focus on the men's dynamic. I really hope that changes things over the next 3 rounds. We've got 2 big teams. They dominate a lot of the league. If they keep looking at each other and everyone keeps waiting for them to make moves, are we going to see more opportunities for riders to get away, to get up the road while those 2 teams look at each other? I suspect they'll learn from this. They might try and put someone more on the front. They're going to try and make sure that they get a rider in the breakaway so they don't find themselves in this position. But I really hope to see more riders, men's race already very aggressive, but really trying to find their way into those breakaways to get away from those big teams, knowing that that's always a possibility. As we head into round 4, the Harbour City GP, it's my home race, Sydney-based. I'm really looking forward to it. It really turned the league on its head last time around. This time around, I'm hoping no different. The Pheasant Wood circuit is so challenging. We saw Jack Ward and Zach Marriage kind of pull themselves out of GC contention on that stage, which was a big story. And then the Kangaloo stage, I think that's going to be incredibly demanding. Cannot wait to see how it all goes. Anyway, that's a summary. Back to you both.
So no doubt, Angus, looking forward to not having to travel this weekend for the Hertz ProVelo Super League. And all kicks off, Tills, with stage 1, which is on the Friday, and that's a criterium in Cronulla.
Yeah, and it's a stunning criterium as well. I think what is going to be a huge topic, though, Matt, is the wind and rain that we are as expected. Now, the rain looks like it's eased up a little bit, but it's always so windy. It's in Cronulla. It's right on the coast. I've never, ever been in Cronulla where that southerly hasn't come through in the afternoon, and it just completely blows. So it can be really aggressive. And if we saw anything of what happened in the Tassie crit, that just totally flipped the leaderboard. And so there could be gaps here as well. But from there we go on to Pheasants Nest area, and I know Pheasants Nest more only from being hundreds of times on the Hume Highway, Pheasants Nest rest stop. That's about how much I've seen from that. But this, the circuit on stage 2 looks a bit more like a camise. So again, that sort of GP style. You're on the track, and again, it can just be so uncomfortable, and it just does not take much for gaps to open up.
And the Queen stage then is on the Sunday, and this is in the Highlands, and this is a circuit race. It's 25 kilometres per lap. The women do 4 laps, the men do 5. So it's just over 100 Ks for the women, a little over 125 Ks for the men. How tough is this circuit?
Actually, unbelievably tough. They're going to get a really rude shock down there. This area is really well known for, being down there for the Barrel Classic a few times. The roads are completely dead. And the weather you get in the Barrel region, in that Southern Highlands region, in the Glengarry area, is it's so cold. It's so much colder than what you get at the likes of Bondi Beach and Cronulla. And so I'm expecting cold, extremely windy, wet, grim, classic style conditions, which is going to just be fantastic for you and Peter to be calling on. And it is that circuit. There's a circuit of, as you say, 25 kilometres with over 400 metres of climbing each one. It's just going to be another sort of race of attrition a little bit, but very quickly someone or a group could go up the road in this course. And I think splits are definitely going to happen.
So could it be similar to the Guns Plain stage that we saw in the Tour of Tasmania, where Sophia Salmon's won by a minute 47 seconds on her own?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually. Exactly, Matt. I was thinking it's really sort of that arduous. It's not like a full-blown climbers stage. It's not a Queen stage in the fact of it being this really key sort of hockey stick sort of stage that we see, like we saw at the Poatina stage, where it was a real climber GC. This is a real wear everyone down just with 1,000 cuts. And I'm expecting the likes of Sophia Salmons, Oscar Gallagher, those sort of riders who did do well on the Guns Played stage to do really well here on the Queen stage.
Oscar Gallagher is a good shout out. You mentioned the Case Body Wrap team. They were brilliant at the Harbour City GP last year. It's a home race for them. Yeah, he's a Victorian, but for Case Body Wrap, it's a home race for them. The other factor that comes into play again this weekend, Tills, is the under-19s are racing. So we'll see ARA Skip Capital, where Neve Passport is dominating in the women's. And I'm looking forward to seeing how she contends with the women, with the adults, as opposed to just racing often in the under-19s.
Yeah, we even heard from some of the female riders in the peloton over the weekend, because the under-19s weren't there due to the distance, that they were really missing them. The peloton and group seemed a lot smaller with the under-19s. But what I love is, because the under-19s have limited opportunities, is they maximise everything that they get. So I'm expecting to see an aggressive race from that team. And of course they missed out on their Queen stage down at Poatina, where they had been quite aggressive, the ARA Skip Capital team. So I'm excited to see what they bring to it. And I think for Neve Passo, just as much experience that she can get as possible, because she's definitely a rising star.
And on the men's side of it, the ARA Skip Capital team again, they'll be looking to see what they can do, get in the breakaway. Maybe we'll see the likes of Billy Van Hout get up the road. He's got some good experience.
Yeah.
He's got some great nous. Also on the weekend, Tills, on the first stage and the second stage, the under-17s are racing. And so I'm looking forward just to watching the results and see who the next rider is for us to keep a real eye out for.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just a huge opportunity for them, as again, any racing opportunity that they can get is one that they really need to take with both hands, because what's really playing out with this second season of the Hertz ProVelo Super League is actually, yes, the overall is so important, but if you can have a really good performance in one of these rounds, it's a standout. Everyone knows your name. Everyone's talking about you. And that's really important. It's also for these younger guys, under 17s, under 19s and women, the data that they get from this racing is what the teams want to see, like the professional teams. They want to see your data. So it does steal a bit of that joy out of it, I know, but for them to be able to produce their best power, their best heart rate, their best effort to show that they can go the distance, these are great opportunities for them to be doing that.
Well, you know, the data that I'm looking forward to seeing at the end of the weekend is your data from Three Peaks. Now,
I hope so.
You had a crash on your way to the commentary box on Saturday for the Warny. How's your knee, and are you going to be okay for the weekend?
Oh God, Matt, I was still in shock trying to call the men's Warny. You were like holding me together. It was an absolute shocker. But yeah, at the moment, I haven't been able to fully bend my left knee, but you know, I think we like to see ourselves as a little bit of superhuman as athletes. And so what they say to what doctors say to you, you sort of take with, well, that's just the general public, and try to hope that you're different to that. So look, it's not the greatest prep. I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but look, I'm doing everything I can to get ready for the Peaks Challenge. It's a wonderful event up at Falls Creek. Unfortunately, it clashes with the Sydney round, but they're expecting close to 2,500 participants. So yeah, I'll be checking back in on the coverage, hopefully when I go under 8 hours over that course. So we shall see. But I'm trying to hurry slowly, which is very hard for someone like me.
When you get the advice from a doctor, okay, I need you to rest. Did you respond with, okay, how many reps is that?
Yeah, but what minutes and in what position and all these sort of things. But no, so I'm taking at least 3 to 4 days. I will take 4 days off the bike, and then we'll just see if the stitches can hold, if I can get them out slightly earlier, if I have to ride with them in. It's all good. And like, honestly, there's bigger things happening in the world. This was just a personal goal, and I know we say this in hindsight, but I was really proud of myself how I prepared for it. The race itself is just a bit of a celebration. The whole preparation for the day was the main part, and I did all that I could. I'm super proud of that, and I really enjoyed the process of that and being a part-time athlete again with a full-time job. But yeah, so we'll see. But I'm looking forward to seeing everyone who's going there, and but keen to see the coverage. And Matt, so wait, because obviously this is on SVS and the coverage on Stage 3. You have a busy 3 days with SVS as well. You on the mic are going to be working harder than my sub-8 hour. Tell me what's on the schedule. What's on the TV guide?
It's a busy 26 hours. So Saturday night from 10:25, we've got Strada Bianca. We've got the women's race first and then the men's race. That finishes
on the same day.
On the same day.
Same day.
Coverage will finish
same night.
Sunday morning at 3:15. Then head into the studio to Burwood at 10:30 to then have the coverage for the ProVelo Super League. That finishes. I'll come home. I'll try and get a couple of hours sleep because I'll then be back in the studio on Sunday night for the start of Paris-Nice. So in the space of 24 hours, I'll be calling a race from Italy, a race from Sydney, and a race from France. It's a privileged position, Tills.
Oh, but actually, all I heard then, Matt, was that I have 36 hours of coverage to catch up on with SBS over the weekend. So, yeah, we're extremely fortunate. Like, you hear of all these countries having to pay for so much money, how difficult it is to try to access races both locally and abroad. And look, we are in such a fortunate position as a fan to be able to watch that. So I think it'll be inspiring for the next generation to be able to see the best of the women, the best of the men. Tadej Pogacar's coming back. Demi looks amazing. Lotta's still there. So I can't wait to see the coverage that you're going to be bringing to the screens.
It's a huge weekend ahead. Good luck to you up at Falls Creek with the Three Peaks, and everybody else, hope you can join us for the coverage on the Hertz ProVelo Super League on SBS.
Go!